Here we go, playing the when will this actually start recording game. My favorite bit every episode. There we go. See, it says the recording starts and then it immediately jumps to 5 seconds. So I know it's been recording for 5 seconds, but it didn't say it had started. That's that's the shit that pisses me off. Don't lie to me, computer. I understand what's going on. I know your game. Skype. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to What's in the Box Score, featuring my good friend over here, Rick Weiner. This is episode 6, and we've got things to talk about. We'll just start right off with Rick's background there. One of my favorite players of all time retired, and that's Jon Lester. I love this man with all of my heart. He was part of 2 Red Sox World Series championship teams.
Do you need a minute? Should I leave the room so you can have a moment alone?
Jon Lester's just one of those guys that, like, even the biggest Red Sox hating Yankee fans that wish Fenway Park would burn to the ground can't hate Jon Lester.
No, I don't hate Jon Lester.
Yeah, but he's just one of those guys. Obviously, came back from cancer, threw a no-hitter, won 3 World Series rings, but 2 with the Red Sox, 1 with the Cubs. Obviously, the Cubs one being, the most important series in the history of the franchise. He's the most important free agent signing in the history of the Cubs franchise as well, I would say, because they certainly don't win that World Series without him. He was dynamite that year. Mm-hmm. He just had a hell of a career. Around a 3.6 career ERA, 200 wins on the dot, had the same exact ERA and winning percentage with the Red Sox as he did the Cubs, and that's the type of consistency I respect.
That's wild. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, the exact same. It's crazy. I do have another stat like that I want to bring up. I got to find it.
That's okay.
Yeah, it was from Sarah Langs, but yeah, happy retirement to Jon Lester. You deserve to have the greatest retirement of all time.
Yeah, congrats on a hell of a career. Lasted 16 years in the big leagues, which is no small feat. Mm-hmm. Like you said, he's a cancer survivor, and that alone makes him a fucking huge winner.
Yep.
He had a very good pitcher, very good career. He's not a Hall of Famer, Mark. I'm sorry.
It's one of those things where I accept that. I accept that he isn't a Hall of Famer. His number's getting retired by the Red Sox. That's for sure. He will have his number retired by the Boston Red Sox, I think. He will easily make the Red Sox Hall of Fame.
The Red Sox Hall of Fame for sure.
Yeah. I think he'll have his number retired just because of how beloved he was in Boston. Even the nightmare 2011 and 2012 Red Sox teams that he was a part of, everyone was still like, hey, at least we got Jon Lester. Like, it was just, he's one of those guys. Plus, the postseason success, 2.5 ERA in the postseason, started more game ones than anyone else in history.
I'm just looking because I thought I knew this and I wanted to make sure. The Red Sox have retired 1 pitcher's number.
Yeah, it's Pedro.
Lester's not in Pedro's league.
No, he's not, but it's one of those things, like, just in terms of impact for the franchise.
I mean, that's fair, but I'm looking at the list of guys here, and Joe Cronin, Bobby Doerr, Johnny Pesky, before our time. Yaz, no-brainer. Ted Williams, no-brainer. Jim Rice, no-brainer. Boggs, no-brainer. Fisk, no-brainer. Ortiz, no-brainer. Pedro, no-brainer.
And Pedroia's next.
Pedroia absolutely should have his number retired. Because you want to talk about heart and soul of a team, face of the franchise. Yeah. Like, Pedroia was the one guy that Yankees fans hated but respected at the same time. Because he played the game the right way and he played hard.
Yeah. In Pedroia, I believe it is scheduled for this coming year.
I think you're right. And the other thing that I hold against Jon Lester, and actually I should thank Jon Lester for this because it was my most successful article that I ever wrote for Bleacher Report. It was the first Bleacher Report article that was featured on the front page of CNN.com and got over 1 million views in 24 hours.
Yeah, you told me you wrote this article. You never told me what the article was about.
2013 World Series, I believe.
Yep.
Forget which game it was. John Lester had this green blob on his glove. And a Cardinals minor league catcher that no one ever heard of and no one's heard from since tweeted out, "What in the F is this?"
Mm-hmm.
And it became a huge thing. And we never got an actual answer.
Nope. I do remember that.
When it is a neon green substance on your glove that you keep going to, you might as well be Michael Pineda with the pine tar on his neck. We're going to notice that you have Kermit. It looks like Kermit the Frog threw up in your glove.
Yeah, I had forgotten about that.
That stuff like that it sits with me the wrong way. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's because I'm an old bastard. I don't know. But you do that, and all of a sudden I question everything about you.
That's fair. That's a fair criticism. I tend to not really care when pitchers use foreign substances.
No, look, if you use it, fine. But when you get caught, then I have to question it. Then I have to question how many times you get away with it where nobody noticed. It was just a random thing that somebody happened to notice this time. And the elephant in the room is that I said he's not a Hall of Famer. People will turn around and say, Jack Morris is in the Hall of Fame, so why isn't John Lester in the Hall of Fame? One, if you think Jack Morris was a mistake, why would you repeat it? Why would you say, well, we already made one mistake, so now we can just make all the mistakes? I mean, by that account, then everyone should be in the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
If you throw a pitch in the major leagues, congratulations, you're going to Cooperstown. Because who cares? Everything's a mistake. But Jack Morris is also a 1, 2, 3-time 20-game winner, 5-time top 5 in the Cy Young, 3, 4, 5, 6-time All-Star, and he pitched the most incredible game I've ever seen a pitcher throw. Mm-hmm. Game 7 of the 91 World Series, where he literally would have murdered Tom Kelly if Tom Kelly tried to take him out of the game.
I feel like it wouldn't have taken that much, to be honest with you. Tom Kelly was no spring chicken at the time.
One of his teammates even said it. Randy Bush, who was an outfielder with the Twins, says, I want to know who was going to take him out. Who would have had the guts to go out to him and say, hey, Jack, you're done?
God.
He's like, it was Tom Kelly, and I quote, Jack would have punched him, kicked him, he might have killed him. No, he probably would have killed him. End quote.
That's funny. And
Lester, yes, he beat cancer. Yes, he was a part of he won 3 World Series. He doesn't have that moment. He doesn't have that iconic, legendary moment. And that, I think, is what helped put Morris over the top.
Yeah, and I don't think Jack Morris should be in the Hall of Fame in even the slightest fashion. And
that's fair. I have no problem with him being in the Hall of Fame, but I'd have no problem if he wasn't in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. That's one for me that, there are a few guys that are in the Hall that, to me, are borderline egregious.
For sure.
And Jack Morris is one of them.
And we talked about this on the Hall of Fame episode. Talk about egregious. Think about how many guys are in the Hall of Fame that nobody knows anything about.
Mm-hmm.
Was just, he played in the 1800s and he hit, 420 for his career.
Yeah.
Okay, great. But, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
Who was alive to tell us what baseball was like when it first started?
Yeah. I'll give a pass to a Rochester, New York native, Old Hoss Radburn, because he has the funniest stats I've ever seen.
And he also has one of the best Twitter accounts.
Great Twitter account
on Twitter.
But if you've never looked at Old Hoss Radburn's baseball reference page, do yourself a favor, because in 1888 he threw 690 innings. It's hysterical.
Here it is. 1884. He went 60-12.
Yep.
With a 1.38 ERA, 73 complete games in 73 starts, 678.2 innings pitched, 441 strikeouts.
It's one of my
The guy
favorite
threw
baseball.
73 complete games. He won 60 games.
He also, in the games he didn't start on the mound, played right field.
Hang on, I gotta see this because this is just bonkers. 1883 to 1884, two seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Old Hoss Radburn went 108 and 37 with a 1.7 ERA, a 0.95 WHIP, and 756 strikeouts in 1,300 innings.
Yeah.
And of the 141 starts that he made, 139 were complete games.
Yeah. He should be, if MLB ever wants to change the logo, just change it to like the headshot of Old Hoss Radburn with that incredible mustache.
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, if you wanted to change the name of the Cy Young Award.
The Radburn Award.
The Radburn Award.
Even just the Old Hoss.
You know what the most amazing thing about this is? I'm looking. The dude was 5'9", 168 pounds.
Yeah, he was. I am right now larger than Old Hoss Radburn.
I'm not taller than him, but I'm certainly heavier than him.
I got an inch and about 10 pounds on him. So, anyway, how do we get on to Old Hoss Radburn? Oh, we were talking about the Hall of Fame. Yeah, Lester isn't a Hall of Famer, and I've accepted that, but he is one of my favorite players ever, and just meant so much to Red Sox fans and the Red Sox organization that I wish him all of the best. And he really, outside of win a Cy Young, which he probably should have, there were a couple of years he finished top 3, and you can make an argument that he should have won. I believe it was 2014 and 2016. It might have been 2015.
2016 was the only top 3 finish for him.
Oh, he didn't finish top 3 the year he got traded to the A's? Because he was dynamite the year he got traded to the A's. He was 4. Oh, he was 4, okay.
He was finished 4 that year. Who did he lose to in 2016? Oh, he lost to Scherzer.
Scherzer.
Kind of hard to argue with that one, but yeah.
Yeah, like he had a couple years where he was legitimately a top 5 pitcher on the planet. Mm-hmm. And, it's just, like I said, all the best. I do have that other stat because I mentioned the winning percentage and ERA. Did you see this from Sarah Langs about Prince and Cecil Fielder?
No.
Okay, so everyone knows they each hit 319 home runs. Like the father and son each had 319 home runs. A lot of people know that. But it gets even crazier. They each had 97 home runs with 2 outs. They each had 49 home runs in the 4th inning, 29 home runs in the 5th inning, and 18 home runs in the 9th inning.
Holy crap. That's wild.
That's unbelievable.
I don't even have words. Like, that's not normal.
Just the fact that that a father and son retired with the same amount of home runs.
Yeah,
that's
like that would have been
enough.
Like incredible enough. And then there's like 6 other stats that they're identical in. That's crazy.
I saw that stat the other day, and I was like, this is one of the leading topics I'm going to bring up on the show this week.
And for as amazing as those numbers are, it's still not as crazy as the fact that Prince Fielder was a vegetarian.
When I first heard that, I almost threw up. There's no way.
I heard that and I called bullshit immediately. I was like, no way.
Look at that guy. You're telling that's all kale?
Like a truck. Like, how did just vegetables? Like, come on. There's no
kale
way.
And tofu? Are you kidding me?
Like, how much kale and tofu is he eating?
He's got it, like, tofu comes in like the little cubes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is he getting like kegs of tofu?
I was gonna say
he's got to have chugging it.
He's just got to eat like a full pallet of those in a day, piled up on a pallet. And I mean, like he was
Hey Prince, here's a swimming pool full of tofu. Eat your way out.
And he's one of those guys too. He's really big, but he wasn't like fat.
No, he was built like a truck. Like he was. Yeah. He was just a massive human being. He wasn't a fat guy. He was just a big dude.
Yeah, but when you look at him, it's like, oh man, that guy's fat. But then I remember seeing him on like the ESPN magazine body issue, and I was like,
yeah.
I was like, Jesus, look at the muscles on this.
Yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, he's got a little bit of a gut, but like it's not. He's not big sexy. He's not Bartolo.
No. Unbelievable.
Bartolo's fat.
Yeah. Oh, Bartolo, very fat. But still an incredible athlete. Like
you have to be.
The behind the back flip and shit like that. It's
still the greatest home run I've ever seen hit in my entire life.
Yep. The fact that came off of James Shields just makes it that much better for me, because I always shit on James Shields for giving himself the nickname Big Game James and having like a 4.5 ERA in the playoffs.
Yeah, like you can't give yourself that nickname.
No.
You just can't.
When you're a mediocre pitcher in the playoffs and you call yourself Big Game James, screw you. Guy had one good playoff start, and he was like, yeah, Big Game James, that rings a bell. Then he got traded for Fernando Tatis Jr. in the most lopsided trade in sports history.
Yeah, that was not a good trade for the White Sox. Not one of their best days.
Also, Melky Cabrera retired today, which I thought Melky Cabrera retired in 2016, so good for him.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was just like, really? I thought you retired a couple of years ago, Melky, but, hey, the milkman cometh and the milkman leaveth.
He's currently playing in the Dominican Winter League, which I only know because Cespedes Barbecue always posts stuff about the Dominican Winter League.
Yeah.
And I saw they posted a lineup the other day, and I had forgotten about this guy. One of the great names in baseball history, Junior Lake, came up as an outfielder for the Cubs in probably like 2014.
I remember Junior Lake. I forgot he existed, but I remember the name. Yeah,
he's playing in the Dominican Winter League, and I was like, holy shit, Junior Lake! I remember when he came up because my dad and I were like, that guy's name. Look at that guy's name.
That's great. Oh, one other Yankee-related thing. Manny Banuelos is back with the organization, former top pitching prospect.
Yeah.
Signed a minor league deal with them today along with Ryan Weber. Banuelos has not pitched in the majors since 2019? 2019,
yeah. How old is he now?
30.
Yeah, be close to 35, doesn't he?
I don't think he's that old. Hang on. I just lost it. Yeah, and Banuelos, he was supposed to be it was him and Dylan Betances that was supposed to be the saviors of that rotation. He is 30. He'll be 31. 30, okay. He'll be 31 in March. So, I mean, he's got some mileage on him, but he's certainly not, over the, too old to contribute. I wouldn't count on him being anything more than, an emergency starter / semi-useful semi-useful bullpen piece. I mean, the days of Banuelos being a stud are long gone.
That isn't the most notable Yankee headline this week, though, as the Tampa Tarpons, the low A affiliate of the New York Yankees, announced that Rachel Belkovec will be their manager for this upcoming season. She was a hitting coach on the team, so she's already been with the team. And she's the first female manager in professional baseball history. I think this is very cool.
I think it's great. I mean, and to all the morons out there saying, well, she stole a job from a qualified man. Go fuck yourself. Like, who cares?
You know who you are. A friend of mine who said that.
I know who you are. He told me who you are.
I did. I was complaining about you before the show.
Eat a big bag of shit. Like, who cares? I don't care if it's a woman. I don't care if it's a Martian. I don't care if it's a fucking orangutan. Like, if you can do the job, you get the job. As Mark and I discussed before we started recording.
Mm-hmm.
If a bag of dog shit applied to be managers of the Yankees instead of Aaron Boone, I would hire the bag of dog shit. Okay? Like, I don't care who you are, what your sex is, what you look like. None of that should matter. And when it does matter, you need to look in the mirror and wonder, why does this bother me so much? Because it says more about you than it does about the team. She's been in baseball since 2011, actually.
Yeah, she's been around for a long time.
So we're talking somebody who's put in the work. She's 10 years into working in the majors, and she's 34. So she started doing this when she was 24. Like, anyone that has a problem with this, like, you're just an idiot, and please don't listen. Just hit the X button and go watch something else. Like, I don't want you here. Nobody can give a good reason why she shouldn't be hired.
Agreed. It's like you said, she's put in so much time. She clearly wants baseball to be her life. And, I understand it's like, oh, but, she's never played baseball at a high level.
She was
Whatever,
a softball
dude.
player.
Yeah, she was a softball player in college.
Damn good one, from what I understand.
Mm-hmm. And so it's like, yeah, whatever. The Giants have a woman on their major league coaching staff.
You know what it is? I just figured it out. Why these people have an issue with it?
Mm-hmm.
It's because they're embarrassed by the fact that she knows more about baseball than they do.
Yeah.
That's like if we were all in a room or all at the bar having a drink and a baseball conversation came up, those people would be like, while she was rattling off stuff that would make everyone else go, holy crap.
Listen, both of us are baseball guys. This is what we do. She would probably run circles around us.
Oh yeah, like those 7 stats that you rattled off with Prince and Cecil. Like, she'd be like, yeah, of course, I know that. Yeah, who doesn't know that?
Who didn't know that Prince and Cecil had the same amount of 2-out home runs in their career?
You guys are baseball people? What? So, yeah, no, congrats to her. Hope it works out. If it doesn't. But, nothing wrong with, giving her a shot. She certainly put the work in.
Mm-hmm. Where did she go to college? Trying to find where she played. Louisiana State.
Yeah. Just LSU.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Small school. Maybe you heard of it.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. She got her master's at LSU. She started at Creighton.
Okay. So still a school that most people know.
Yeah. A Big East school.
Yeah.
A conference that usually puts out pretty good baseball and softball talent.
And here's the other thing that these putzes fail to realize. Kim Ng started as an assistant with the Yankees. When she left to go to the Dodgers, Jean Afterman, another woman, took over as Brian Cashman's right hand. And she's been there since. And they've tried to promote her. And she's been like, no, I love my job. I'm here until you kick me out.
Brian Cashman's like, please, take it. Take my job. I beg of you. People hate me now.
Yeah, she's like, no. I'm very happy doing what I'm doing.
You'll do a better job at roster construction than I will. Trust me.
Left-handed batters? What do you mean we need a left-handed batter?
We have 9 left-handed hitters that strike out a million times, or right-handed hitters. But yeah, so congrats to her. That's awesome. I was so happy when I saw that, and I hope she ends up in the big leagues. I really want to see her manage in the big leagues.
If she has success in the minors, there's no reason she shouldn't.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I was going to say, the only argument, and it's not even an argument, but the only thing I could see people taking issue with is, makes things in the clubhouse a little weird. Well, does it make things in the clubhouse weird when a female reporter walks in after the game?
Exactly.
You're a big boy, grow up, put a towel on, put some pants on. Try not to make a stupid remark for 5 minutes.
And I was going to say, I know that there are a lot of managers in the minors who just, kick around for decades even before getting a shot in the big leagues. And, it's like, oh, why didn't this guy who managed in the minor leagues for 30 years get a shot before this woman who managed 5 years in the minor leagues get a shot? You know what? How about this? Maybe sports should embrace diversity a little bit more. Huh?
Or how about this? Maybe the guy that you're bitching about who didn't get the job not only loves his job, but he's married and has kids and doesn't feel like uprooting his whole goddamn family.
Yeah.
So you feel better about yourself.
Yeah. There's a number of reasons why it's okay where if she gets a job over a guy who's been managing in the minor leagues 20 years. If a guy's been with the same minor league team for 20 years, you're right. He probably has just settled down there and he's like, I don't want to go anywhere.
Yeah, like,
this is
I'm
great.
happy. This is home. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to have to, you know how much of a pain in the ass it is to move?
Yeah,
You know, like,
making enough money to live off of and just like.
Yeah, like he's probably like a semi-celebrity in the town.
Yeah.
You know, like why? Not everyone wants to be Joe Torre.
No.
You know, people are very happy hanging out in the minors for their entire career. You know, guys people make good money doing it.
And baseball is one of those sports too where it lends itself to inclusivity. Like, I know obviously it's like, oh, boys play baseball, girls play softball. It's practically the same sport.
It is the same. Aside from the way that you pitch and the size of the ball, it's pretty much the same.
So if a woman knows a lot about softball, she probably knows a lot about baseball too, especially when it comes down to the mechanics of a swing, the mechanics of a throw. Like, obviously the pitching mechanics are different, but the mechanics of an actual throw of a softball are the same as the mechanics as the throw of a baseball.
It's probably easier for them to throw a baseball if you think about it, because it's smaller and it doesn't weigh nearly as much.
Yeah. It's just...
Oh, and completely unrelated, but since we're talking about throws, did you see Ichiro today?
I saw that tweet. That was unbelievable.
He didn't just do it once. He did it twice in a row.
Did you see the video of him from like a month ago pitching against a girls' high school baseball team in Japan?
No.
Oh my! He struck out 17 people.
I believe it.
He's just throwing these ridiculous back foot sliders and like just toying with them. It's so funny. These 16-year-old girls don't stand a chance against Ichiro.
Yeah, for those who didn't see the video, Ichiro is standing at home plate. Somebody tosses him a ball. There's a garbage pail set up in right field. It's got to be at least 320 feet away. Grabs the ball, gets set, tosses it right in. Then he looks at the camera and holds up his finger. One more. Does it a second time. I mean, the guy is still unbelievable.
The guy is a marvel of modern athleticism. He really is. If you've ever looked at his Japanese stats, like his Japanese league stats, they are so funny. It's like, his first 2 years, he didn't play much because the manager of the team didn't like his swing, so he didn't let him play.
Okay.
Yeah, and then his first year in Japanese professional baseball, when he's 20 years old, he hit like 385.
Like, he might be the best baseball player of all time.
When you look at everything,
when you take everything into account, like, he's up there. He's in the conversation.
Yeah, if you include the Japanese league stats, which, say whatever you want. I tend to do just because it is the other most competitive league outside of the major leagues or like American professional baseball. There's so much talent in Japan that it's like a little bit of a step down, but really not all that much. I mean, just look at the great Japanese players we've had over here in recent years.
Mm-hmm.
Like Shohei Ohtani. These guys
Shohei,
can play.
Matsui, Ichiro, and then forget about the pitchers that have been dynamite for the most part.
Tanaka, Darvish. I know Darvish is inconsistent, but the stuff, I mean, you can't deny the stuff he's got.
Maeda, Youngjin Ryu. Yep. Okay, and some of these guys are from Korea, so I apologize for lumping everybody in. But from Asia, from that part of the world, like, there's a lot of talent. Ichiro would combined, I mean, between the two leagues, he's got 4,367 career hits.
So many hits. It's an unbelievable
amount of hits. He hit 322, and he struck out. Okay, he did strike out more than he walked. 1,400 strikeouts, 1,000 walks.
There was a New York Times article written in 2011 which was the first year that Ichiro didn't make an all-star team in the United States. It was in the New York Times. I can't think of the author's name. He was definitely sitting on it for like a decade because the entire thing was about how Ichiro isn't actually that good. And his arguments were he doesn't get on base like Ted Williams. He doesn't steal bases like Ricky Henderson, and he plays right field instead of center field. If he was that good of a defender, he would play center fielder and be Willie Mays.
Nobody steals bases like Ricky Henderson. Nobody hits like Ted Williams. Mm-hmm. And there's only one Willie Mays.
I heard it on a different podcast. I heard it on Mixtape, and they were just going through the article and his points and just laughing at it. They're like, "This is the most ridiculous article I've ever heard."
Yeah, that's up there with pretty stupid.
And this is in 2011 when Ichiro is coming off of 10 consecutive 200-hit seasons, All-Star games, and 9 Gold Gloves.
No, it was 10 Gold Gloves. It was 10 consecutive. Yeah, he won a Gold Glove every year in his first 10. I mean, God, he was so good.
The guy's incredible.
Yeah, from the ages of 27 to 36.
Yeah.
The guy hit 331 with 383 stolen bases, 10 All-Star appearances, 10 Gold Gloves, and 9 he got MVP votes in 9 of the 10 years, including winning it as a rookie.
Mm-hmm. When he hit 350 with 50 stolen bases.
I'm so sorry that Ichiro started to fall off in his age 37 season when he was 20 years into his career.
It's unbelievable. And also, if there was a guy out there that hit like Williams, ran like Henderson, and did everything else like Willie Mays, he's the single greatest athlete in the history of sports.
Yeah, like, show me, where is that guy? Because I haven't seen him.
I'd love to see that guy.
It's not Trout.
No, because he doesn't run like Henderson.
And he doesn't play defense like Willie.
Yeah.
He's a good defender, don't get me wrong, but he's not Willie Mays.
He's not Willie Mays.
The closest to Willie Mays that I've seen is Junior.
Yeah. And he wasn't a great hitter for average. He was like a career 280.
And he didn't, and his defense didn't last all that long. Once he started getting hurt, that was it.
Mm-hmm.
He became a mediocre defender.
But anyway. Ichiro tangent over, even though I could talk about him and Tony Gwynn are the two guys that I could talk about for hours and just.
Well, Tony Gwynn's the best hitter I've ever seen. So
that man, we'll do a Tony Gwynn rant another night because we do have to get into Major League Baseball and the Major League Players Association had a Zoom meeting. Tony Clark and Rob Manfred apparently just stared at each other for any number of minutes while other people talked. And hey, it's a start. Negotiations for these things never start off the way that fans want them to. Of course, it would have been great if they just hopped in a Zoom meeting and 5 minutes later said, you know what? Let's forget all this. Here's the new CBA. Shake hands, whatever. Of course, that wasn't going to happen. It was the first meeting. And there were some interesting things put on the table by both sides, some of which are stupid and some of which are very stupid. So,
wait, before you get into it,
mm-hmm.
I have to ask, because Casey Stern, formerly of MLB Network, he asked this question yesterday, and I don't know how to answer it.
Okay.
Should anyone care at this point? Really, should anyone care?
I mean, I really want baseball to come back.
Yeah, but we all assume that eventually these idiots are going to get it done. So should anyone care? Should we care about this?
No, it's hard to care about it until it actually happens.
Yeah, and Casey's point wasn't so much about the fact that, everyone wants baseball. It was more about, look at the fucking dumpster fire of a world that we live in.
Yeah.
Should we really care about millionaires and billionaires arguing?
No.
And I was like,
there are many more important things going on right now than
but
Major League Baseball labor negotiations.
I'm curious what was proposed because I only saw a little bit, and what I saw definitely fell in the very stupid category.
Well, I want to start with one thing that I thought was just hilarious. It was I believe it was the players that, it would have been the players that proposed this, where to avoid service time manipulation, all right, if a guy comes up and finishes top 10 in MVP or
that was the league.
This was the league?
Yeah, the players haven't proposed anything. This was everything that came out.
Everything was just the league. Okay, I thought this was the players. But yeah,
because I thought maybe there was a different report that I didn't see.
But yeah, so top 10, like MVP, Cy Young, win Rookie of the Year, like all these different bonus incentives, they would get an extra draft pick. How about this? Don't be an asshole and use your players.
How about this? Who determines the list of the top 100 prospects? How is that determined?
Yeah, I guess they would use a mix of Baseball America, Baseball Prospectus, and MLB Network or MLB.com.
I mean, okay.
I guess they would like take, if a guy was featured in 3 out of those 4 lists at 70, but not on the other one, they would take the guy that's on all 4 at 90. Yeah, like it was a weird, I guess they would just sort of make a composite
I can understand why the Players Association would be like, no. Like, because that's totally subjective.
Yeah, and
not for nothing, like, how do you know that the guys over at whatever publication you want to use, insert name here, that, like, the guy that they have, he's the 5th best prospect in the Red Sox organization. How do you know it's not his cousin?
Yeah.
Like, legitimately, like, I've done that. I'll admit it. When I had to do lists at Bleacher Report, like, I knew guys that played.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd be like, yo, throw my boy in.
All right.
Okay. Sure, no problem.
Yeah, it's that one. I saw it and I just laughed because I was like, how ridiculous is this? Like, now it does make sense that it's the teams because, to be quite honest with you, Major League Baseball teams care way too much about the draft. I think baseball is the one sport where obviously the draft matters. It doesn't matter nearly as much as it does basketball or football or hockey for that matter, because you don't know if the first overall pick is ever going to be good.
Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, I see what you're saying because there's certainly no immediate impact.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like baseball. It's not like basketball and football where the guys that you take in the first round,
he's playing. Starting for your team.
If it's a lottery pick, he's starting, and if it's not a top 10 pick or a top 15 pick, like they're definitely getting playing time for you.
Yeah,
baseball, it's legitimately like, all right. Maybe
you might see the guy in 5 years. Yeah,
maybe in 3 years, like the top guys will start to debut.
And so it's like, I obviously, you need to build through the draft, and a lot of great teams have built through the draft. Just look at the Cubs from a few years ago when they won. It was Bryant and Baez and Russell, or they didn't draft Russell, Oakland did. But guys that came up through the minor league system, Wilson Contreras, and it's just like. So obviously it helps, but at the same time, so many of these guys get traded or, signed somewhere else as minor league free agents anyway. And how often do we see the number 1 overall pick have a great career? There's one number 1 overall pick in the Hall of Fame. And it's a guy you mentioned. It's Ken Griffey Jr. There's 2 now because Chipper. I forgot Chipper was also the number 1 overall pick. So there's 2 now. Yeah, there's 2 number 1 overall picks in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Ken Griffey Jr. and Chipper Jones.
That's crazy.
Like, you can't predict when, especially in baseball, you can't predict future success. I've always said that. You can analyze a guy's swing until the cows come home. You can analyze his pitching mechanics and his spin rate and all this stuff. Baseball is the one sport where it's just like, Yeah, I have no idea if this guy's going to be good. I watched Steven Souza Jr. play an entire season at Syracuse, and I thought he was the second coming. Like, he hit 360, he hit over 20 home runs. I was like, this guy's going to be a stud. He's most well known for making one catch for the last out of a no-hitter, and the rest of his career has been a bunch of meh.
Yeah, I mean, and to be fair, I mean, he's battled injuries, but I mean, you're right when it comes to the number one overall pick. Since 2000, Adrian Gonzalez, Joe Mauer, Brian Bullington,
Yeah.
Delman Young, Matt Bush, Justin Upton, Luke Hockever, David Price, Tim Beckham, Strasburg, Bryce, Garrett Cole, Correa, Mark Appel, Brady Aiken, Dansby Swanson, Mickey Moniak, Royce Lewis, Casey Mize, and then the three big prospects now are Adley Rutschman, Spencer Torkelson, and Henry Davis.
And some of those, you might say, hey, that's a pretty good group. Steven
Not
Strasburg,
really.
Bryce Harper,
That's
Carlos
21
Correa.
years.
Yeah.
And you've got one definite Hall of Famer in Mauer.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
And that's it.
I'd say Harper's on his way.
I mean, Harper's on his way. Correa's on his way.
Yeah.
But 3 and 20 years?
Yeah.
That's not a hell of a lot. And two of those guys have never pitched in the majors.
Yeah, Mark Appel and Brady Aiken are the definition of a bust.
Yeah, actually, I think they're both out of baseball at this point.
I know for a fact Appel was. I think he came back.
But I think he's out again.
Yeah, and I think Aiken is out as well.
Yeah, I mean, like the fact that Dansby Swanson, he's an okay shortstop.
He's a very solid player.
Like the number one. I mean,
coming out of Vanderbilt, he was like. I remember watching those Vanderbilt teams, and I was very much on the Dansby train. But it's just a sport where it's so impossible. I mean, Mike Piazza was what, like a 60th round pick? And that was just Tommy Lasorda doing a cousin a favor?
Yeah, exactly. It was because, hey, draft my cousin Mikey. Okay. Yeah, all right, I got you.
Yeah, and Mike Piazza might be the best hitting catcher of all time.
Yeah. I'm just looking at that 2015 draft where Swanson went. So I was just curious who else was in the first round.
Touki Toussaint went in that draft, I believe.
Talk about a great name. Talk about great names.
Fantastic name.
Fantastic name.
Wait,
Alex Bregman was
15
number
or
2.
16? He was 15. Okay.
Yeah, he was 15. Bregman was was the second overall pick.
Mm-hmm.
After that, Brendan Rodgers. He's been meh.
Yep.
Dylan Tate. He was supposed to be awesome. He hasn't done anything.
Nope.
Kyle Tucker. He's been okay.
I think this breakout year he just had is legit. I really like Kyle Tucker.
I happen to like Kyle Tucker too, but I mean, so far, nothing special. Tyler J. never pitched in the majors. Benintendi, he's already on his second team. Carson Fulmer.
There's a guy. This wasn't even because he was he got drafted by the Red Sox. I watched a lot of him at Arkansas because I have this weird fixation with Arkansas sports. I said going into that draft that he should not only be a top 2 pick, it was either him or Dansby, but that he was going to win a batting title. And I have never bet, I was so wrong.
No, I look
jersey in my closet. Andrew Benintendi is my favorite player of the last 5 years. I love Andrew Benintendi, but I was very wrong about him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking my favorite player in the first round of this whole draft was Josh Naylor.
Yeah.
I love Josh Naylor, and he's been nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, you could make the argument that the third best player in this draft so far has been Trent Grisham, and he was drafted 15th overall. So, the point being that you were making is that it doesn't mean anything where you're drafted. And you're right. They do put way too much emphasis on, these top prospects and top picks because most of them don't pan out.
Yeah, and even look at a Byron Buxton, who was the number 1 overall prospect for 3 years running. It was him and Jerks and Profar, I think, are the only 2 people to do that. And they were, I think, back to back as the number 1 prospect.
Yeah, they were.
And Buxton's, a really good player when he stays on the field, and he just signed that massive extension. I think it was 7 years and $100 million. But what have we really seen from him in terms of a full season? We've seen one.
He's been so hurt, we haven't seen a full season.
And
it's tantalizing what he does when he's healthy.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He's insanely talented. But then
he looks like the guy that we thought he was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, he can't stay on the field.
But Jurickson Profar is now a utility guy for the Padres who plays sometimes. That guy was supposed to be the next Derek Jeter, except as a switch hitter.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think it's hilarious when teams are clamoring for more draft picks. It's like, you could get a guy in the 15th round, and he might be the best player in your franchise's history.
Yeah, but you and I both know why they want more draft picks. It's cheaper labor.
Yeah.
It's more guys they can control and keep, at league minimum salaries.
Yeah. It's just, but yeah, I thought that one was very stupid. And then MLB is really pushing for the 5-year instead of 6-year free agency thing. Get a guy out a year earlier, which the argument against it is guys leave small market teams to go to big market teams because, Corey Seager just signed a mega deal with the Rangers coming from the Dodgers.
Yeah, so, the argument against it is that there is no argument against it.
Yeah, that one I actually don't hate. I'm fine with getting guys into free agency a year earlier.
Yeah, and the fact that the players' union says we don't like it just shows that they want that tied to something else.
Yeah.
Because there's legitimately no reason. Like you said, the argument that they put forth is idiotic.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in light of what Seager just did. You can't make that argument.
Javi Baez just left the Mets to go to Detroit.
Well, to be fair, Javi Baez needed to get out of New York.
Well, yeah, but
him and Buck were not going to get along.
Oh God, no. But it's also one of those things where it's like, that's two examples of very high-profile free agents up and leaving two of the two biggest markets in baseball
to go to small markets.
To go to
smaller
markets. It's not like they signed with Pittsburgh or Tampa or anything, but the Rangers had a lot of money to throw around, so that makes sense, and they certainly did with John Gray and Marcus Semien as well. But Detroit, it's like, yeah, it's a big city, but the Tigers, for the most part, for the better part of a decade, have been irrelevant.
Yeah,
same with the Rangers. Both of these franchises have been irrelevant for close to a decade now, and it's just like, especially the Rangers. They went to back-to-back World Series in 2010 and 2011, but since then, who gives a shit?
They really haven't done much of anything.
Yeah, it's been Oakland and Houston's division ever since. And so that's just such a bad counter-argument to make. I understand why the Players Association probably wouldn't want it, but that's not the reason.
Yeah, you can't. That's just it. You want to, if you have a reason, if you're against it, then just tell us why you're against it. Don't use this idiotic argument that's already been proven to be wrong before you even made it. Yeah, but again, this whole thing just comes off as disingenuous because the owners insist that they're not going to budge on the things that the players' union really, really wants.
Mm.
So, again, why are you talking? If you're not going to actually address these issues, I don't understand who cares?
We also had the league offered to eliminate direct draft pick compensation. So with the qualifying offer thing,
okay, fine, great.
Yeah, that's fine. And what was the other one? Oh, yeah. MLB proposed to increase the competitive balance threshold from $210 to $214 million.
Yeah. Ooh, $4 million.
$4 million. Here's what I want, and I might be alone in this. I want a salary floor. Get teams like the Pirates out of here. That their opening day payroll is going to be like $17 million.
Yeah, I'm all for that.
Give me a floor, because talk about just active tanking. The Pirates want nothing to do with winning baseball games. Absolutely nothing to do with it. And congrats, you got the number 1 overall pick and you drafted a guy that projects to be a solid defensive catcher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely good. You mean that's not going to get fans in the stands?
Like, it's, like I say, it blows my mind in baseball that teams tank for the first overall pick. We're not talking about Zion Williamson here. Like, we're not talking about a Trevor Lawrence, who I know he was just awful for the Jaguars, but he was the biggest quarterback prospect since Peyton Manning. But we're not talking about that sort of immediate impact guy. If in 4 years this guy comes up, I'm blanking on his name. I want to say Patrick Bailey, but that's not it. That's the catcher that the Giants drafted.
The guy that just went this year? Last year? Oh, I just said his name. I'm blocking on it. Hang on. Henry Davis.
Henry Davis, yes. In 3-4 years, if Henry Davis comes up and becomes a 280 hitter that wins a couple of Gold Gloves, congratulations. The 2020 season where you were the butt of baseball fans' jokes for an entire season, where you let a guy get in a rundown between home plate and first base.
Okay, so here's my question. What's the minimum floor? What number are you throwing out there?
$55 million.
I think that's fair.
55, 60 million. It doesn't have to be 90. You don't have to be, as some teams legitimately can't afford that. But every team can afford $55 million. Just sign a couple of veteran pieces that people, like, names people will recognize. Like, just get some people in there. And especially in a place like Pittsburgh, which is a gorgeous ballpark. I've been there. It's beautiful.
And they have a rabid fan base that still shows up no matter what.
Yeah. Pirates fans are crazy. The game I went to, admittedly, there weren't many people there, even though it was Austin Meadows' Major League debut. I was there for that. And look at the player he's turned out to be.
Yeah.
But it was like a chilly, rainy night in May. Like, it wasn't great weather. They were playing the Padres, who were also terrible at the time. It was like a few years ago when the Padres had like Matt Kemp,
right,
and like they were also very bad that year.
Yeah, that was the year that AJ Preller wanted to try to go for it all and wound up doing just terrible, terrible damage.
And it was also on like a Thursday, so it was like a weeknight game. So everything was working against a lot of fans being there, so there weren't a lot of fans there. But the fans that were there were going nuts. And the Pirates lost like 8-1. But when the Pirates scored that one run,
oh yeah, that's a big deal.
The place was electric. And it's, like I said, it's such a gorgeous ballpark. You stand out on the balcony in right field. You look one way, you get a great view of the field. You look the other way, you just see the Allegheny. Like, it's right there. And why wouldn't they try to get fans in the stands? Why wouldn't you try to make the most money possible by generating more revenue, by getting more fans in the stands, by getting recognizable players? I know Gregory Polanco is finally gone, another bust of a prospect. But we're not that far removed from Marte, McCutchen, A.J. Burnett, Francisco Liriano, these names that people know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the Pirates, all I'll say about the Pirates is that I think they're actually heading in the right direction with Ben Cherington. I think he knows what he's doing.
I am very much not the world's biggest Ben Cherington fan.
No, I'm not a big fan either, but when it comes to building like a farm system, I think he can do a good job of that.
Yeah. It's just...
because really, I mean, aside from Brian Hayes and Brian Reynolds, there's not a whole hell of a lot going on in Pittsburgh.
And I am very high on Brian Reynolds. He's another one. I watched him a lot in college. Loved him. I loved when the Giants drafted him because my dad's a big Giants fan. And I was like, this is the type of guy that'll fit perfectly for the Giants. Just hit close to 300, 20 home run hitter, but he'll play a great center field, and everything seemed perfect for him to fit with the Giants. Of course, he ends up getting traded to Pittsburgh, but I think he's great. To Brian Hayes, the raw tools are there, but who knows? It's already seeming like he could be Josh Bell.
Yeah, I could see that, but I'm giving him more time before I stick him with that. He's still young.
Oh, of course.
He's been
very
hurt.
Young,
yeah. And he's Charlie Hayes' kid, and I have a soft spot for Charlie Hayes.
That's true.
Yeah, he did catch the final out of the first part of the World Series dynasty.
Mm-hmm.
He gave birth to the evil empire.
It's all Charlie Hayes.
It's all you Yankees haters out there, you really just hate Charlie Hayes, and that makes you a terrible person. Because how could you not like Charlie Hayes?
Yeah, and I'm not putting that on him like quite yet, like, oh, this guy's gonna stink. But yeah, he had a great rookie campaign, and he's got a lot of power and stuff, but he just reminds me a lot of Josh Bell, like even the way he stands at the plate and his size and just a lot of things remind me of him. He's also a switch hitter, isn't he?
I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is.
And Josh Bell had that one great half of a season in Pittsburgh, and people were going nuts. Like, is this guy a top 5 first baseman in baseball now? Then he fell off a cliff after making the All-Star game and hasn't been the same since. And I don't want Brian Hayes to turn into that, but I can just see it.
Yeah, now I'm curious, Brian.
I think he is also a switch hitter.
No, he's a righty.
He is just a righty?
He's just a righty. But he's 20, he's entering his age 25 season.
Yeah.
So, he turns 25 in 2 weeks.
Yeah, he's 5 years older than Wander Franco. This guy needs to hurry it up.
Yeah, I mean, he's getting to be ancient pretty quickly.
Once you turn 28, your prime's over nowadays. So,
but he's a very good defender. There's a lot to like about Brian Hayes, and I think him and Brian Reynolds are good building blocks. They need some pitching. They desperately need some pitching.
Oh my! I remember we were doing on my other podcast, Hot Stove. We were doing our MLB season preview last year. We were just looking at the Pirates roster and going through their projected rotation ERA, and the best one was, I think it was Chad Kuhl, and it was like 4.5, and that was the lowest projected ERA on the team.
Yeah, that's not good. You got to aim a little bit higher than Chad Kuhl as the ace of your pitching staff. I'm not saying you need to have Garrett Cole as the top of your staff, even though you did at one point, Pittsburgh. But I'm sorry. They did sign Jose Quintana, so he is technically their ace.
Oh, yeah. He was good 7 years ago.
Yeah, before the lockout, they did sign him. So right now it's Jose Quintana, JT Brubaker, Zach Thompson, who I actually like.
Yep.
I think Zach Thompson's has a chance to be a solid pitcher. Dylan Peters and Bryce Wilson. That's the projected.
Oh, Bryce Wilson, that guy stinks.
Yeah, the former prospect from the Braves, yeah.
Yeah.
That's their projected opening day rotation as things stand right now.
Oh, boy. Yuck.
And look, yes, they have some guys in the minors. They've got Roansy Contreras. They've got Miguel Yahuri. They got Max Kranick. But we've seen bits and pieces of these guys, and it hasn't been good bits and pieces.
Who's the big guy? He throws real hard. He throws like 99 miles an hour. Mitch Keller.
Yeah, he's there, but Mitch is what he pitched last year, 6.17 ERA in 100 innings.
But he's another one. He's got the stuff. It just might take a little bit for him to get his command down.
Yeah, and that's yes, we're joking when we see these guys, hit their prime at 26, but Mitch Keller is going to be entering his age 26 season. This should be the start of your peak.
Mm-hmm. The last proposal I want to get to from the MLB because I just saw this for the first time. And the first sentence of this is referring to the draft pick reward for the rookies finishing in awards voting. Player skepticism towards the idea mirrored that of when the league proposed using wins above replacement metric from Fangraphs to replace the arbitration system.
It's so stupid.
I didn't see that before right now. What?
Yeah, that was...
You're going to use a stat that every single website has a different formula for.
Yeah.
As the basis for how much money you pay players? A stat that, while sometimes can be very accurate, at other times paints guys to be much better or much worse than they actually are.
Yeah, like, I mean, the arbitration systems, I think, is one of the few things that actually works in baseball.
Yeah.
Like,
it's one, for sure.
Like, I agree with the decisions or not. Like, they all seem to be fairly reasonable. It's... I'm really, after we've discussed it, I'm leaning, I think I'm starting to side with Casey Stern. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, they literally have, 2 weeks to strike a deal if there's any shot of pitchers and catchers reporting on time?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so 2 weeks for them to act like big boys and adults and put their pants on and get in a room and stay, not these video conference bullshit. Get in a room and hammer it out. Like, sit down, lock the door, put security outside the door so you can't leave, and figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm telling you right now, if they thought it was bad after 94, they're going to be fucked.
Listen,
with a capital F. Because those who forget or weren't around, it took the entire sport basically going like this while everyone in the clubhouse was shooting up steroids to save baseball. Because baseball was dead. Yeah. It was over. Game over. Nobody cared. And it wasn't until Sammy and Mark took their shots and broke a bunch of records that people started to care again. So what are they going to do this time? Because they can't do the steroid thing, Mark.
They already did it.
Yeah, so what are they going to do for an encore? When they fuck this up and there's a work stoppage that results in a shortened season with fans that really just don't care and are angry and do nothing but shit all over the players when they do go to the games. Like, what's baseball going to do to bring the fans back?
It's in another thing. 1994, yeah, that was awful, and fans were pissed.
Like, I'm still pissed.
Yeah, exactly.
That
a lot of fans
cost Don Mattingly a World Series.
It did.
It cost Paul O'Neill a batting title.
Mm-hmm.
It cost me a Yankees Expos World Series.
Oh man,
those were my two favorite teams. I loved the Expos. And I don't know why.
Look at the players that were on the team. I can see why you loved them.
It wasn't even the players.
I've got an Expos hat hanging up on my wall over there. The Expos uniforms. I need them to. I need Montreal to get another team just so we can get the Expos uniforms.
Yeah,
back.
I wanted that so badly, and they took it from me, and I've never quite forgiven them.
But think of it in 2022. Just think of Twitter. Jesus Christ.
Forget it.
With social media nowadays, the way fans will react.
We'd all be kicked off of Twitter. Everybody would be kicked off.
I'm getting banned day 2, maybe day 1. I would be pissed.
I'm getting my under 25 minutes that I get completely banned, that the show gets deplatformed, that the show's Twitter account disappears, and that, because I'm going to lose my absolute shit.
It's so,
and I'm adding everyone, by the way.
Oh yeah.
I know. I'm not going to just be like, all right, I'm just going to put this out there. I'll put the hashtag, whatever. No, like I'm legitimately coming at people.
At MLB, at Rob Manfred.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
like I know people in the MLB office. Like I'm calling them and being like, give me his burner account.
Mm-hmm. We know he has one.
I know for a fact he has one. I've been trying for 5 years to find out what it is, and they won't tell me. But a friend of the family he works in the commissioner's office.
And can confirm that Rob Manfred has a burner account?
He may or may not have confirmed that.
That's going in the title.
No, it's not. It's really not.
I just want to bring up quickly the Fangraphs WAR thing, because I've got the 2021 leaders right here.
Okay.
So number 1 is Shohei Ohtani, because of course he is.
No brainer.
Of course. Number 2 and 3 are Corbin Burns and Zach Wheeler.
Okay. I'm good with that.
That's fine, except when I see Trey Turner is number 4. And I personally think an everyday shortstop who hits .330 is more valuable than your best starting pitcher.
Oh, for sure he is. No, for sure. And I thought you were just doing pitchers. I did not realize you were doing everybody.
No, this is everybody. That's why
okay,
it's obvious that Shohei is number 1.
Yeah.
Because he did both. And it's like, yeah, he's easily the most valuable player in baseball. Corbin Burns and Zach Wheeler had great seasons. Phenomenal seasons. Trey Turner, because then it goes Trey Turner, Vlad Guerrero Jr., Bryce Harper, Marcus Semien, Juan Soto, Jose Ramirez, Fernando Tatis Jr. I can't tell you I would rather have Corbin Burns and Zach Wheeler over any of those guys.
No, I would much rather have position players who make an impact, like you said, every day or 5 out of 7 days than a guy that pitches at most twice a week.
Also, Nathan Eovaldi is higher than Walker Buehler, and that's just not true. Nate Eovaldi had a very good season. Walker Buehler was lights out.
And Buehler had a good season, but he did struggle at points.
He struggled at points, but if you look at strikeout rate, ERA.
I'm just looking at the ERA. His ERA was 1.5 below Eovaldi.
Yeah.
And that just makes WAR even more useless than I originally thought.
And I've always said that pitcher WAR is completely useless. I don't use it at all when evaluating pitchers. I'll use it when evaluating hitters to a certain extent because it does take into consideration defense, base running, blah, 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 all that stuff. But pitchers, I don't care at all what a pitcher's WAR is. Give me his ERA, his strikeouts per 9, his strikeout to walk ratio, his ERA plus, and I'm set.
You see, look, my whole thing with analytics, I've been anti-analytics forever because my take, and it really hasn't changed all that much, although I do see the benefit of some of these stats, like WRC plus and ERA plus, stuff like that, is that to me it's like, all right, you're in a bar, you're having an argument about baseball, and your friend is just destroying you with facts. So you go home and you create this formula because you can't use actual facts to win the argument. So you have to create a stat that you can go back to him with and be like, hey, well, see this? This says that I'm right and you're wrong, and this is all analytics, and you don't even understand the meaning of that word, so I win, and next round's on you, buddy. Like, that's what I look at analytics like. Where it's people who just can't win an argument create a stat so they can win it.
You know what should be a stat? I did this when I was like 13 years old, and I stand by it. OPS plus average. Put it all in one number.
Okay, I'm going to give you a number that this has actually won me some decent money in DFS.
Mm-hmm.
I'm putting this out there once, and then I will deny that I ever did it because the guy who I tweaked it with has won a fucking fortune using this, and it's really the only number we use. ISO plus WOBA.
Okay.
It's amazing what happens when you just use that number building a lineup.
It's in here now, friend. As someone who now lives in a state where legal sports betting is
yes, it
a
is.
thing.
Woohoo!
I've been all over it since Saturday.
And I swear to God, I've never placed a bet before it became legal.
Oh,
Never, ever, ever.
No. Who would even imagine?
No, I've never heard of offshore books in my life.
No. What is this betfastaction.ag that you speak of? I've never heard of this website in my entire
bookie?
life.
That's not my bookie. It's your bookie, pal.
Yeah, I just can't wait for baseball season to start back up again because
neither can I.
My hypothetical lines or picks that I would make and not put any money on at all, those did very well this past baseball season. And I had never been a baseball bettor before because I'm like, it's baseball. Who the fuck knows what's going to happen on any given night?
It's a 6-month season. Like, a lot can go wrong.
I'm telling you start in July because then you know who every team is and who every player is. And just work from there. Oh, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
Oh, I put a bunch of futures in and none of them hit. So
yeah. See, I'm just like, all right, July 1st. That's when I'm gonna start betting on baseball.
I was like, Cardinals to win the division plus 2,500. Like, how the hell am I not going to do this?
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, that's why.
Yeah. Milwaukee hits 220 as a team, but their team ERA is 2.1. So
nobody can get a hit off of them because they've got the 3 best pitchers in the league.
I think that covers everything.
One other thing I wanted to point out came out late yesterday that the Atlantic League is done with the robo-umps and the bullshit pushing the mounds back. And a guy who plays for the Ducks, he's been there for a long time, the Long Island Ducks, used to work out at the gym that I went to, and we became friendly. And I know for a fact that every person on that team hated it. Hated the mounds being pushed back, and they hated even more the robo-umps. So hopefully this is the death blow to both of those things.
I'm sort of coming around more on robo-umps once they get the technology perfect. That's my thing, is I don't want the technology to be 98% accurate. If they can ever get it to 100% accuracy calling balls and strikes, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that's fine. But, again, my whole thing with it is strike zones are different for different size guys. Aaron Judge's strike zone and Jose Altuve's strike zone are 2 completely different things.
And that goes into the 100% accuracy. Like, it needs to be able to take that into consideration and create it like a accurate strike zone.
Own box, yeah.
Like, that's when I'd be like, okay, this is fine, since they perfected that technology. 61 feet 6 inches is fucking ridiculous. They're like, hey, you know that this dimension that we've had since the 1850s? What if we change it?
Just because we can. Not for any reason. Just because we can do it.
You know the way that we've played this game for 170 years? What if we just moved it back a foot? What's a foot? That's a guy's shoe. That doesn't change anything. I would love to see the number of guys in the Atlantic League that had Tommy John surgery or rotator cuff surgery this past season.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not entirely sure.
Because all of a sudden, that 59-foot curveball bounces 2 feet in front of the plate instead of 1, and becomes a lot easier for the guy to take.
Yeah, and to be fair, most of the guys in the Atlantic League are ex-major leaguers or ex-minor leaguers who probably have already had Tommy John at least once, if not twice or 3 times.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, all right, I don't really want to go to overseas, but I still want to play baseball, and I'm not going to make a lot of money, especially in New York, where I'm going to have to give 8,000% of my earnings to the government. So I'll just go play in the Ducks, because quack, quack.
Wasn't there someone recently in the past few years that played a while in the Atlantic League and then made it back to the majors?
Guys pop back up into the majors from the Atlantic League all the time.
Yeah.
Wally Backman is actually managing the Ducks this year. So
does he really?
That alone makes it like you have to go to a game.
Yeah.
Just to see if he loses his shit.
Mm-hmm.
But they are staying. So those two are gone. They're keeping the bigger 17-inch bases, which I'm fine with. I don't care about the base size. They're keeping the anti-shift rules, which I love.
Big fan.
Shifts are not allowed in the Atlantic League, and they're keeping the change with the extra innings. I'm still iffy on it. It's not quite as crazy as what Major League Baseball did.
I don't even know what their extra inning rule is.
It's not even like it's a different level of crazy.
Wait, do they have the home run derby?
No. I wish they did, because that I'd be okay with.
No, that was the Savannah Bananas, that hilarious team. They started doing a home run derby for extra inning games. That's what I was thinking of.
No, they're doing so the first extra inning, runners are on first and second. Every inning after that, bases loaded.
Oh, see, yeah, I still hate that.
Yeah, like that's insane, and I don't like it.
I despise that.
Like, I didn't like what MLB did, but by the end of the season, I had come around to it a little bit.
And no, I still hate that too.
Like, I'd prefer that they don't, but like if they were going to keep it, I would have been like, all right, I can deal with it. Like, it's not my favorite thing, but I'm not going to go completely nuts about it. But that's insane. If you get to the 11th inning, both teams start with the bases loaded.
I will say I appreciate the chaos. I love the chaotic nature of it.
Oh, I love the chaos, but that's just stupid.
That's ridiculous.
Because that just changed. Like, what's the point? Why did we play 10 innings?
Yeah.
Why did we play 10 innings if we're just going to load the bases now?
That did remind me. I forgot to bring up the Orioles are moving the left field fence back 30 feet at Camden Yards.
Yeah, might as well.
Part of the reason that was cited was like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Aaron Judge. And my thing is, if you're going to cite two players on visiting teams and not cite Gleyber Torres, you're a maniac.
Yeah, fair enough, but
because that guy only pulls his home runs, and he's got 30 of them in Camden Yards in like 12 games.
Yeah, and he had like 8 in a 3-game series. So
yeah, so if you're gonna cite anyone to be like, yeah, we're moving the fence back because of this guy, cite the biggest Oriole killer ever.
Yeah, maybe develop better pitchers, Orioles. Just saying.
That's the other thing. Don't move the fence back when you have negative pitchers on your staff.
Yeah, no, like I'm all for moving the fence back because you don't want to be quite as much of a bandbox. Like it's still a bandbox. But yeah, like maybe address the fact that your pitching sucks.
John Means is the best pitcher that this team has had since Chris Tillman was good. Like
Chris Tillman, holy shit.
Yeah,
wow.
That was like 2013 when he was good. And I think John Means is the best pitcher they've had since him.
I know, John Means definitely is.
Yeah.
Because Kevin Gausman didn't pan out when he was with the Orioles. Jake Arrieta, we know, didn't pan out when he was with the Orioles.
Dylan Bundy was terrible.
Dylan Bundy, that was the other name I was trying to think of. Like, he was god-awful. Chris Tillman, wow. Yeah, he was a thing for a couple of years.
Oh, yeah. There were a couple of years where it was like, oh, man, is Chris Tillman going to win a Cy Young? Nope.
Nope. Yep. 2013 to 2016, went 56-30 with a 3.9 ERA, and he was the best thing Baltimore had.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really, the best pitcher Baltimore's had in the past decade has been Zach Britton.
Yeah. And like we mentioned a couple episodes ago, in the biggest moment in the franchise's recent memory, he was
Buck
left in the bullpen.
had a brain fart. Oops. Sorry, pal.
I mean, just realistically thinking back to like the golden days of Orioles pitching with, Palmer and Boddicker and like the 420 game winners they had. Who's been their best starting pitcher since then?
Moose?
Well, yeah, Messina, yeah. But it's like, and Moose is a Hall of Famer and deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, but most well remembered as a Yankee. And like, just in terms of like those franchise type pitchers,
Yeah, look, I mean, the Orioles are they're tough to like. They have such shitty ownership. Like the entire Angelos family just sucks.
Oh yeah, the Angelos. Yeah, I couldn't remember for a second who owned the Orioles.
So
Yeah,
like I know I'm pretty sure Peter Angelos. I don't know if he's still with us, but I'm pretty sure his kids are running the team now, and they don't seem to be much better than their dad.
Yeah.
So like if they'll keep their hands off of it and let the people that they hire actually build a thing, maybe they can get somewhere eventually. But also look at that division, like they're fucked.
Yeah.
You're going up against the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Rangers, the Blue Jays, and the Rays.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if you're a 500 team, which would be a big win for them,
huge,
considering that they haven't been a 500 club since
2016, right?
Yeah, 2016 was the last time they finished above 500.
Yeah.
Like, God, just I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, I'm looking at Moose. According to Baseball Reference, Moose is their 7th best player and 2nd best pitcher of all time.
Yeah, behind Jim Palmer.
Yeah. I'm just trying to see if there was another more recent pitcher that made their top 24. Nope.
Yeah.
They really haven't. When it comes to pitching, the Orioles haven't had much.
It's weird for like a somewhat storied franchise. You know, they've got a few World Series wins, and people know Baltimore, and it's speaking of a rabid fan base, Baltimore fans, they have a great set of fans. But
for sure.
And another beautiful ballpark. I want to go to that ballpark so bad. It's so beautiful.
Camden Yards is cool, but it's like the old Yankee Stadium. Like you don't want to hang out around outside for more than like a half hour after the game.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's just funny how some teams. It's like how the Bears have never had a great quarterback.
What you're telling me that Rex Grossman wasn't a great quarterback? How dare you?
But it's just like, McMahon's their best quarterback ever, and he was fine.
He wasn't. Jim McMahon was a better South Park character than he was a quarterback.
But yeah, it's just like he was a fine quarterback, and he's the best quarterback they've ever had. So, and then you look to their biggest rivals, the Packers, with Bart Starr, Brett Favre, and Aaron Rodgers. It's like, oh man, if they could add one of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, which is crazy when you think about it, that the Bears have never had a great quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Although I guess when you have guys like Walter Payton, Gale Sayers, and a ridiculous defense,
who needs it?
You really just need a guy that you just need a game manager. You don't really need somebody to lead the team and push the ball downfield. But yeah, I'm looking at the top 50 single season pitching leaders for the Orioles, and like after Palmer, there's not a hell of a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's really not. Like there were guys before him.
Like El Presidente, maybe Dennis Martinez.
Yeah, Dennis Martinez is fine. I mean, but like, yeah, I mean, Boddicker was their guy for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's not a lot. There's not a whole heck of a lot there. But anyway, Camden Yards is still going to be Camden Yards. I don't expect that moving it in is going to make all that much of a difference.
Agreed. Like you said, it's a bandbox is a bandbox unless the defense is back 60 feet.
Judge, Glaber, like these guys are still going to hit the ball.
Yeah, like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. can't go out of his way to hit a ball an extra 30 feet to the pull side of the field.
It would. I could see it making a difference if the balls that were being hit to left field were just clearing the fence.
Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hits the ball harder than anyone I've ever seen not named Giancarlo Stanton.
Like none of these guys hit that just made it over the fence. Maybe Glaber, but Judge, Vlad, these guys, they don't hit just got their home runs. They hit balls that still haven't landed.
Yeah, and even Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hit the lowest home run I've ever seen. I don't know if you remember that one when it was in Toronto. I swear to God, it never got more than 10 feet off the ground.
I vaguely remember it, yeah.
He hit it down the third baseline, and it looked like the third baseman could have caught it. I don't remember who the Blue Jays were playing, but it was like, yeah, the third baseman probably could have caught that ball, and then just went out.
Yeah, because he hits it 8,000 miles an hour.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's everything that we wanted to cover. Longer episode today. Pushing an hour and a half here.
Yeah, we try to keep it at an hour, but sometimes,
it happens. When we go on each year road tangents and make fun of Rob Manfred for a while, it's bound to happen. At least we kept the tangents baseball related today.
For the most part, yeah. Although Jim McMahon was a tangent.
Little bit, but it wasn't like the American Idol tangent from a couple episodes ago where we started talking about American Idol.
No.
I put that in the title. It was like favorite MLB moments in American Idol. But we'll be back next week. Sorry for the delay on this episode. I was swamped yesterday.
It happens.
Yep. So we'll be back next week. Thank you, everyone, so much for listening, watching on YouTube, listening on Spreaker. Shout out Paul and Sports War Radio once again. Didn't remember to mention it until the end of the episode. I promise I'll get better at that at some point.
As long as you mention it, make sure to follow us on the social media, people.
Yep.
Rick Wiener NY on Twitter.
Marker_box on Twitter. BoxScorePod underscores between each of the words on Twitter. Those will all be linked in the description below if you're watching this on YouTube. They are all on our Spreaker page if you're listening to this on Spreaker. So just either look us up, hit the link, whatever, but follow us on there because Rick and I are both rather active on Twitter. We're becoming more active with the podcast Twitter.
And if you love rants, check out my Twitter because I rant. I rant, I say things I shouldn't say, and I don't care.
And I forgot to say congratulations on Joe Judge and Dave Gettleman no longer running the New York Giants.
Doesn't matter.
I know Mara's still there, but hey, it's a start. Matter. Gettleman retiring very much under his own free will.
Oh, yeah, sure. That was totally his call.
That was so funny to me when I saw Dave Gettleman retires. I was like, no, he didn't.
Yeah, well, they said a month. It doesn't help when that's the story they're pushing. When a month ago, the story came out that said, yeah, the Giants are firing Gettleman, but they're letting him retire to save face.
Yeah,
like we all knew he was going to retire. And the fact that it took Mara an extra day to fire Joe Judge says everything you need to know about Mara.
I will say, I think that was more to grab headlines.
I think that was more because he was petrified of the fact that nobody was going to show up to the stadium next year.
Oh, see,
because nobody showed up to the last game. That stadium was empty.
That's true, and
fans were not coming back.
They pulled a QB sneak on 2nd and 3rd and 9.
Yeah, from their 4.
Yeah, from their own 4-yard line,
and they couldn't get it over the 5.
But yeah, it struck me when it happened as like okay, a lot of guys are fired on Black Monday. Obviously, the Giants want to make headlines. They want
that could be part of it because Mara is an egomaniac, if nothing else.
Yeah, that's sort of how I read it, but it wouldn't surprise me either if he was just like, I don't know, man.
Like, I don't trust Mara, so I have no faith that he's going to pick the right people. I would not be shocked if he picked yes men, kind of like Cashman did with Boone. Somebody will just sit there and say, yes, sir, can I please have another? Like Kevin Bacon in Animal House. So, hope he's got his paddle arm ready to go for his servants that he calls the GM and the head coach of this dumpster fire of a football team.
All right, there's our ending tangent.
Yes, now we're finished. Thank you very much for listening. Hit that subscribe button, people. We'll see you next week. Enjoy your weekend.
Drop a like, leave a comment, ring that bell. All the cliche things that every single YouTuber.
How many times are we going to record the ending segment, Mark? Just click stop.
Okay.